Hello friends, I'm Victoria from the Academy of Conscious Creators, and I want to welcome you to the Academy's first virtual Freedom Summit, featuring inspiring stories of greatness, wisdom, and empowerment. So let's jump in. For many years now, we've been warned of the crisis that we now find ourselves in, a crisis that is the consequence of humanity's disconnection from nature. As the focus of our daily lives has moved us away from animals and nature, the impact our decisions have on our planet and those we share it with are proving devastating. And so, here to tell us more about the essential need for balance in our relationship with animals and nature, for theirs as well as our own health and well-being, is my guest, Larissa Phelps. So Larissa is a frequency facilitator and she lives on a farm near Perth in Western Australia. And from a young age, animals have been her safe place and her go-to for everything, from guidance to unconditional love. So welcome, Larissa.
Hello, my lovely. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm so happy that you're here.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, excited about our conversation, and what I really loved learning about you is this deep connection that you have with animals and nature. And I myself, it's no secret that I've been known to prefer to hang out with my little dog over people at times. And I think that when we are sensitive to energies around us, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm really fascinated to hear more about yourself and your deep connection that you have with animals.
Well, I think the priority, I guess, I don't know what the word is the unconditional love that we get. And as a human, we don't understand what that is. And until we experience that with the animals, it's really a foreign concept within the human race. And I think my very first connection was with the nature over the animals, because when you learn communication or telepathic communication with these sentient beings, I found it a lot easier to talk to a tree, because my programming was that trees can't talk, whereas there is this concept that animals can talk to us. And, there's a lot of, animal communicators out there as well. So my beginnings really were having a chat with the tree, which lowered my inhibitions and expectations of everything, and it just flowed a lot easier.
I love that. So tell us about, how did you start to become aware that you had this profound connection?
Well, I was very fortunate. I grew up on the beach, so every night going to sleep would be going to sleep to the waves. And at the time, as a youngster, I don't think I realized what I was hearing was coming from the waves. It was just something that would happen every night when I went to bed. I'd have a chat with the waves or the wind, or, and I guess a lot of people call that imagination or whatever. So, but as a kid, that's all you have, and, that's all you know. And then I had a wonderful dog called Raquel, and she used to tell me lots and lots of little secrets and things like that. So, but as, being a youngster and telling the adults these stories, I was told that I was obviously, lying, or who told me that. And if I ever said the dog, then they'd just say, oh, well, you're being silly or whatever. I mean, it was years and years and years later that I found out that what the dog had actually told me was true. So, yeah. So, but yeah, I think the nature side of it is it's just easy. if you let go of any expectations, it flows, and the energy that you can get from nature as well. And I've always always been a barefoot person. Even when I worked in the corporate world, I used to walk around the office in bare feet, and it's just something that I've needed to do and have to do, because it helps ground me, it helps center me, it does everything, and you can feel the energy just coming up through your feet at all times.
I love that. And of course, you know, being around nature, particularly trees, very healing. You know, they help dispel any negative energies that you're carrying, or that have attached themselves to you. So
Yeah.
just, you touched on being in the corporate world. So what happened then from when you were a young child, really being immersed in this natural world, and having this deep connection with nature and with animals, to then shift you out of that sort of world and into this corporate world, which of course is very, very different?
Well, I guess it's programming. You know, as a child, when you're told that the dog can't talk to you, you're being silly or whatever, you've got to shut these things down, because you do want to fit in, you do want to do what you're told, and not to be seen to be different. It's hard enough being a kid in I guess a normal situation, as opposed to someone who can then go, oh, look, the butterfly just said something to me, and then they're all like, oh, you're very funny. So yeah, and then of course, you're told that you go to school, you do well, you get good grades, you go get a job, get a good paid job, blah blah blah. And that's exactly what I did. Well, I didn't do well at school, but I did land on my feet when it came to starting in stockbroking. So, and it's just something that I found that I loved and I could do. And I guess in a way that was a stepping stone to getting back into what I do now, because loving what you do and being good at what you do is really important, regardless of what it is. And I always lived by, if I ever woke up on a Monday morning and thought, oh, bloody hell, I have to go to work, then that was the time to change either companies or jobs, or look for the next. And fortunately, I've stuck by that and lived by that. And yeah, I used to always go to the park and sit, and I'm not a very good meditator. If I go to a class, I'm often one with one eye open, looking around going, what's everybody else doing? But when I'm in nature, it's just easy, because you can sit and listen to the wind, or the trees, or the birds, or it's that natural meditation without any difficulty, without any trying, really.
Yeah. And going back to what you said about Monday, when you are doing something that you love, there is no Monday really, it's just another day. And Monday to Friday doesn't really exist in your reality. And so I just want to pick up on you were mentioning how when you were judged on this connection that you had with animals, and you had to learn to not voice that you were getting messages from the butterflies and from the dog. How did that affect you? What can you remember what you experienced as a child, and what sort of age you were?
I think I was probably about 7 when I started to shut it down. And I did feel a sense of loss. There was times where the dog would talk to me, and I could talk to her if I was at the beach on my own. That was a nice, safe place, because no one could hear me. Or I guess another example is when I used to go and visit my grandparents. This is showing my age, but they used to have bread delivered by horse and cart. So I used to run out, and I used to be able to ride the horse up the hill, and then, but as soon as it turned left up the hill, I had to come back down. But while I was on the horse, I'd be chatting away to the horse. And I remember the baker saying to my grandparents one day, "Gosh, she's got a lot to say, that that young lass." And I didn't have the heart to say, well, actually, it's me and the horse having a really great conversation.
Yeah.
In the adult's mind, it was just me. I don't know, maybe I was chatting to an imaginary friend to them, I don't know. But yeah, as a youngster, there was a loss. I felt, that something was missing, and that it was hard not being able to express myself the way I wanted to, being shut down. And the whole adage, children are seen and not heard, and let alone not heard talking to the dog.
Talking to animals. Yeah. No, I can imagine that must have been really hard. I can resonate with that. And I just want to add that you weren't born in the 1800s. Perhaps just where you are in remote parts of Australia, that they still have horse and cart delivering things, because otherwise you're looking pretty amazing for your age.
Hey, I'm ageless.
Good.
That's what talking to the trees and the animals do for you.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Maybe we can go more into that in a moment. But one of the questions I wanted to talk is that you brought up for me is, as you started to have this experience of loss, one of the things that came through was, how when we are children, we're conditioned to have to be dependent on our caretakers, and to build this sort of attachment. It's one of the earliest unconscious childhood programming, right? And so I just wondered, what your experience of that was with regard to having this, because it seems you had more attachment to the nature and the animals than necessarily the people who were raising you.
Yeah, and I guess they were my safe place. I didn't have a conventional upbringing, let's say. I was, between families and things like that, several parents, and I guess my grandparents were a solid, I guess, and my granddad used to encourage me to, not worry about what the dog told me and things like that. So that was good. But when you're trying to fit in and not get into trouble, as a kid, you want to do what you're told to do, and you don't want to get into trouble. You don't want to, have to go to bed without dinner and things like that. So, you start to toe the line, and then I guess over time it just becomes a normal thing, and you forget. And it isn't till, gosh, I think it was probably my early teens when I had another upheaval in my life that I think I'd run away from home, actually, and I was in a paddock with a horse, and I stayed all night with this horse, and things started to come back up again, and I thought, oh, this is interesting. So, but then I realized that was my safe place. I could. It was hard as well, I guess, because there was this ingrained, that's just your imagination. I'm trying to think what my parents used to say about me, but it was more than imagination. It was, these messages were coming through loud and clear, and sometimes I would look behind me as if if someone was standing there. So it was trying to find my way back, I guess, to believing that that's what I'm hearing over, oh no, I just dreamed that, or made that up.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because of course when we do have these extrasensory perceptions, would you call it, or intuitions, or yeah,
Intuition.
yeah, it can and of course, you know, as we're told, oh, don't be silly, it's just your imagination or you're making it up, you know, it can cause a bit of disconnect in our own self-belief, right?
Yeah, definitely. And we all have it.
Yeah.
I mean, centuries ago, that's all people lived on was their intuition, and their senses were heightened, their hearing was heightened. They would listen to their animals if they were out hunting or whatever, and if the horse wasn't going to go somewhere, they stopped and listened
Mm.
and would listen to what the message that the horse was. How they received it, I don't know, but because everybody is different, but there would be that knowing that the animal was telling them something, and
Mm.
then they would accommodate or change their course or whatever. But as time goes on and modern technology comes in, and we no longer look at intuition. We've got apps that tell us how to get to places. It tells us when to wake up. It tells us, we don't have to do anything anymore because there's, technology that does it for us.
Mm.
So I guess it becomes a practice now to keep that connection with nature and the animals. And
Yeah, and that's a really good point. That leads us nicely into the question around, you know, would it be fair to say that animals may be humanity's best hope in our current age, you know, in not only in healing ourselves and but also to creating a more habitable planet, um, especially when what you've just raised, right? I mean, even
well, yeah,
animals use nature to heal themselves, don't they? And that's what you're going to be talking about in a bit as well.
yeah, exactly. I mean, natural remedies from the earth are centuries old.
Yeah.
And I find it funny that we call it alternative medicine when it's not, because it's the original medicine. It's just we've now synthesized it with chemicals, but that's where they started. They scientists wouldn't know what to do with these modern drugs if they didn't have the original herb to
Right.
as their blueprint.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's weave that in, because you earlier you did mention that you'd worked in the corporate world and in quite a um, well, an industry that's very fast paced and kind of got a reputation of, you know, dog eat dog, right?
Yeah.
So what what maybe was your turning point? How can we link these two? Like from one minute you're immersed in nature and you're having all of these connections and healing yourself and receiving all this unconditional love and guidance. And then you've shifted into this completely other world, right?
Yeah. I guess in a way, I don't know how to explain it really, because I always had that connection with animals. Like I've always had animals in my life. I've always had cats or dogs, or longed for horses, and I now have my dream of I now have 4 horses in the paddock. So,
They sitting
but
behind you.
yeah, um,
Well, I guess what was
they
the
were my
turnaround
escape,
then?
I guess, from the corporate world.
Yeah. So what
You
turned you around? Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah. Go for
what
it.
turned me around? Gosh. Well, funnily enough, it was a major fire here in 2J where I live. And I had always been interested in, say, acupuncture or massage or for myself, but I always thought, oh, well, if humans can get it, then obviously, animals should be able to get it. And I had started looking into that. And then we had these major fires in 2J that, 50 homes were lost. And my family and I were at the beach. So fortunately we had the dogs with us, but the cats and my horses were at home alone. And at this stage I was doing business systems analysis stuff. But I met this lady who was doing Bowen therapy, and she was offering free treatments for the animals that were affected by the fires, because we couldn't get back in for about a week because they wouldn't let us back into our house. And so Chief, my main horse at the time, was, obviously home alone and running around, and not just, water helicopters. There was media helicopters and things like that. So he was quite stressed by the time I got home. And I got talking to her, and I had no idea what Bowen therapy was at all. I'd never even heard of it. And she treated Chief, and to watch him change just before my eyes was just amazing. It was just incredible. And I thought, oh, there's something in this. And she said, you should look into it because it's awesome and everything. And then, as it turned out, after the treatment, I went inside and had a look on the internet. And in 2 weeks' time, there was a course starting for home users. And I said to my husband at the time, I might do this. And he said, well, and because it was quite expensive. And he said, well, if you're going to use it, then why not? So I went down and again found that I could do it and fell in love with it, hook, line and sinker. And as the universe provides, I was able to study while still having my corporate job. Mm-hmm. So obviously being able to pay the bills and things like that. But as time went on, I was doing more and more working with the animals, doing Bowen therapy. I then thought, well, there's no point me fixing the horse if the human's out. So I then studied human Bowen as well, and then small animals.
Right.
And I found my very first case study that I did, I started to feel the pain in my body that the horse was feeling. And I knew exactly where to go, what to treat. And it was just incredible watching. I mean, it was pretty painful. I've learned how to control that since. But at the time, it was pretty painful. I had pretty bad hip pain for a long time. And but yeah, being able to, that was like another sensory gift, I don't know what you call it, came up. And so now I can, as soon as I am within the animal's energy field, they in essence communicate to me where it is that they're hurting, and I will feel it in my body.
Wow.
From a headache right down to heel spurs, right down to feeling my knees dislocated, or things like that. Ugh. So yeah, and then of course I was made redundant from my job, so I was like, this is what I'm doing now. This is me. So yeah.
No, I can resonate.
So I am thankful for my corporate work because it enabled me to study as well as get my case studies done.
Yeah.
Just quite while at work.
Yeah. And also got that little push to go into the direction that you're clearly meant to do. And I guess that gives you this sense of freedom that you found when you were very, very young.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And there's been times where I could have taken the easy path and gone back to corporate world, but I just knew in my soul that it would kill me, and I literally could not do it. It was just not an option. So, and if that meant going out and getting more clients, it meant going out and getting more clients. But I've trusted, and they've come to me, and it's just lovely and organic the way it works.
I love that. And so, I dream of this planet being much more rich with diversity and colourful and abundant wildlife that, I can only imagine seeing in a jungle, for example. And that's the earth that I long to live in. So what kind of tips and insights could you maybe offer our audience who may be interested in learning more about what they can do to connect more deeply with the natural world?
I think we'll just get out there, and it is getting harder and harder. I don't know what it's like. I lived in the UK as well, so I do know that the living conditions is quite different to here in Australia. However, it is getting to the point where people don't have backyards anymore.
Right.
Their houses are just built on the whole block, and to go out into nature, has started to become a task.
Car
Kids
to
don't
get
climb
to
trees
nature.
anymore. Yeah. Kids can't climb trees anymore because they might fall out and hurt themselves,
Yeah.
And it's just, I think we need to go back to that. We need to be able to fall out of a tree, or at least be able to go and sit under a tree and be, but how we change that, I'm not sure, because the population obviously is growing. But I think as long as we can get out into nature and do it as much as we possibly can. I mean, I know we have the beaches over here, which is, I'm very lucky. I have a tree change and a sea change, so I get to live in both worlds.
Nice.
But it does take work, it's like everything. You need to want to be able to get out there in nature.
And also, I mean, going back to what you discovered as a young child, is the more you immerse yourself in nature, you're actually receiving this guidance on, not only how to care for the planet and nature, but also how to care more deeply for yourself. And so encouraging this reconnect to nature. I mean, who knows what we could possibly create then, right?
Yeah. And I think, if COVID taught us anything, if the photos are to be believed, of the Earth regenerating, because we simply weren't flying everywhere, we weren't driving everywhere, that whole pollution side of things, that gave the Earth, the best breather it possibly could have. And I see COVID as a good thing, because it helped everybody, I guess, reset, including the Earth.
Well, it gave us a time, if we took the time and recognized it, to actually go within and, like you're saying, reconnect to ourselves. And of course, we are part of nature. And once we reconnect to ourselves, we can start to get access to our own inner guidance on, what's going right or wrong in our lives, and how to redirect it and replenish ourselves. Like you were saying, replenishing the ocean. And if we're made up ourselves of, 80% water, then we need to replenish. Yeah. Cool. All right. I've really enjoyed our time together. I think this is a fascinating conversation, and something that's, a topic that's really needed in today's age. So thank you for sharing your wisdom and insights. And would you like to tell the audience a little bit about how they can find out more about you and how to connect with you?
Sure. Well, my website is dynamichealthbodywork.com. I am based in Perth, or east of Perth in Western Australia. However, I do distance healings, which I'm offering today.
Yeah, tell us about that, because you're going to offer a gift, aren't you?
Yeah, so I'm not sure how you wanted to do it, but if anyone would like distance healing for both themselves and their pet, just give me a call and we can arrange a viewing, I guess, or a meetup.
Okay, yeah. What would you do that over Zoom, something like this?
Yep,
Yeah,
over Zoom. Yep. And it can be in the paddock or it can be, in the house. It doesn't really matter, but ideally outside would be best, and we can connect.
all right. Well, I'll add all the details so that people can reach out to you if they would like to take up that very generous gift and experience that kind of healing for themselves and their animal, and maybe even witness what you were saying earlier, is this transformation right in front of your eyes, right?
And just getting I guess the owners or the caretakers of the animals to start to feel into their own body as to what their pet might be going through as well.
Right, and creating a deeper connection with their own animal.
Yeah.
Nice, beautiful. All right. So as we come to an end, is there any further things you'd like to add or share to wrap the conversation?
No, I think I'm all good. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Larissa. Thank you so much for being here. I've loved our chat. It's something that's so close to my heart. So I hope the audience will also take some gems from this conversation today.
I was hoping that Lola might have popped her head up, but she didn't. So
well, she did actually pop up down here a little bit earlier. I gave her a little stroke, but she's just over there. This is my dog over there on her little bed at the moment, looking at me. So yeah, we'll be going out after the call. So yeah, thank you for being here.
Perfect example for you to be able to tap into her while you're out on your walk.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, we have a very special bond. I'm very, very blessed. So I've been speaking with Larissa Phelps, and she's a frequency facilitator, enabling people and animals to heal themselves by helping them to raise their frequency. And if you're looking for a platform where you can access support on your journey to personal freedom, come join us. I hope you'll explore, have fun, and connect with others. And you can learn more at wearetac.com. That's weartacc.com. The Academy of Conscious Creators, empowering you to create the story of your life. Thanks for joining us.